everyone, this is your Captain Train Boy speaking. We are about to crash into it. No, I'm just kidding. So this is a Via Rail paint scheme and wrap tier list. This is all of Via Rail's major paint schemes and wraps over the years from their inception in 1977, or well, their first paint scheme in 1978 to the brand new paint schemes that they're going to be rolling out starting in 2022. I've thrown in wraps and stuff because Via Rail doesn't really have that many paint schemes. They've had maybe 3 or 4 over their whole lifespan, when Amtrak has had like 90. I don't know how many. We'll find out because I have an Amtrak tier list. So anyways, this is not in order of anything. This is just all of the paint schemes I picked and stuff like that. There are more. There's a few slight variations of a few paint schemes that I don't have on this list. They don't really matter, really. They're just basically the same as most of these that are on this list. But yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into it. Okay, first off, we are off to a bad start here. Renaissance scheme. I hate this scheme. It's stupid. D.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the
Renaissance scheme is Via Rail's, I guess, more modern paint scheme, I guess. It's been on engines since about 2006. Otherwise, I'm not a fan of Renaissance. I don't like the paint schemes that I see on Via engines for the most part, because the F40PH is all we get out here. You've never, like, anywhere west of, the Quebec-Windsor corridor, you don't see the P42 DCs, and I'm kind of glad, I guess. I'm not really a fan of the Genesis engines. I don't care for the designs. Anyways, there have been about 2 variations of the Renaissance scheme. You have this one on the F40PHs, and there was a blue kind of color on the engines. I think mostly just the P42s. Yeah, they're meant to match up with these bizarre European coaches, I guess, that got imported into Canada for I don't know why. Yeah, they're meant to match up with the paint on those passenger cars, the Renaissance cars. Yeah, I don't really like it, and it doesn't match up at all with the rest of the fleet. Kind of the LRC cars they have still, but the rest of them, the Bud cars that are, mostly used out west, it doesn't match up at all. It doesn't really look nice with going along with them, and that's why I put it in D. Sorry. Also, sorry for the ads. I know you could probably see that in the corner. It says click here for more information. It's ad for Kia, I think. I don't even know if you could see it. Yeah. Go away. Go. No, I don't want to click. No! No! Why would it? No! Okay, so next up, we have the original blue Via Rail paint scheme. This was their paint scheme from, I believe, 1978 to about 1987. It was on most Via equipment, like their passenger cars, their locomotives, and steam-heated steam generator cars and stuff like that. There's a few different variations. I think, there was the one on the turbo train I have here. But I really like it. It's definitely my favorite Via paint scheme. It's just simple, straight to the point. Via, it's interesting. I put it in S. Also because mostly what wore this paint scheme were the classic, beautiful GM built F units like the FP7s, FP9s, the 2 E8s that Via had from CP. And if you didn't know, Via had 2 E8As, from CP. CP had 3, they wrecked 1, and yeah, Vega got left with 2, but sadly they're both scrapped. So people were trying to preserve one, but plans fell through and it was scrapped, sadly.
What's that? It's Squidward. What's he doing here? Here lie Squidward's hopes and dreams. What a baby.
Next up we have the, I don't know what to call this scheme. It's the some people say as delivered F40PH scheme. You know, it's interesting. I don't know, there's some variations of this paint scheme. Technically, you know, there's another variation of it, and that is the, well, I guess you can call it the V-Rail Canada scheme. It's just, it didn't have a lot of the decals and features that the Canada scheme had. The blue line is a lot thinner, and it actually does match up well with the Bud cars that are used out west. I like it, it's just definitely not my favorite. Not really a lot going on. It's alright, I guess. I'd put it in B. Next up we have one of my favorite Via wraps, the Diet Pepsi Taste Drive wrap. I don't know what Taste Drive means. This was wrapped for a 1990 promotional ad for Pepsi, or Diet Pepsi actually. I like the design, it looks pretty nice. I'd put it in A because Pepsi's cool. They got Pepsi Man. What does Coke have?
Bad touch! Bad touch!
I don't know.
Stranger!
Next up we have the CBC 50th anniversary wrap. This is for one of Canada's broadcast companies. You know, they have news, they have radio, stuff like that, kid shows. I grew up watching CBC Kids. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, it's alright. I don't really care for this shade of red. It's kind of like a, I don't know, I wouldn't say maroon. Maybe a maroon, like a, I don't know. I don't know. Definitely not mahogany. Maybe it is, I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of it. It's alright, I guess. I'd put it in B with the original F40 paint. Next up we have the Coors Light Express. I believe this is the first run of the Coors Light train, the engine. The wrap is pretty interesting. It's got a nice silverish kind of design to it. Not that interesting compared to the second run, so I'd say this goes in B as well. Next up we have the V-Rail Operation Lifesaver wrap. This was a mid-2000s wrap for the Canadian Operation Lifesaver campaign, I guess. Honestly, the Operation Lifesaver logo for Canada, you know, it's not as interesting as the US one. The US one is more of a gated crossing. The Canadian one is more of just a crossbuck with lights and stuff like that, you know, the gateless crossing signal. Otherwise, not much else going on the engine except for, you know, the logo, the text, and I believe towards the bottom of the engine, or, you know, it's got some rails going towards the back. It's pretty interesting. Definitely not my favorite. I put it in C, I guess. Next up we have the Lotto Quebec wrap. This is a late 2000s wrap for Lotto Quebec. I have no idea what the eggs have to do with the engine. There's a chicken on it. I call it the oof engine because, you know, that's how you pronounce eggs in French. I don't really like the shade of brown on this engine. Yeah, I'd say it's more brown, I guess, with logos and stuff on it. It has some other text on it regarding the eggs and stuff. I think maybe it's a farmer's, something to do with like farmers or something, I don't know. Maybe it's like Quebec's version of a Western Lotto Max. I don't know. I think it says Le Ouf de Tabarnak. I don't know. I don't know what it says. D. Sorry, D. I could put it in C for Coles. I'm swearing in French, sorry. Next up we have the Budweiser Wrap. This is for some kind of NFL game. I didn't know we had an NFL. Maybe it's CFL. I can't really tell from this tiny low quality picture. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I like the shade of red better than the CBC one. But otherwise, not much else going on the engine, so I definitely put it in B. Next up, we have ViaRail's most recent wrap, the Love the Way catchphrase. I don't understand this catchphrase. It probably makes a lot more sense in French than it does English. Otherwise, the wrap is bland. It's like a couple of their other wraps. I'm missing one of these kinds of wraps. I think there was a Remembrance Day wrap for 2019, I think. It's not that interesting, definitely not my favorite at all, so I put it in D as well.
Oh my god!
Not really that much interesting stuff going on the engine. Otherwise, I do like the design of the new kind of paint scheme. It's kind of reminiscent of a older paint scheme that I'll get to in a little bit, but it's, it's a little more, it's a little different, and I kind of like it. Next up, we got a Home Hardware wrap. Now, Home Hardware, I believe, was a Canadian version of Home Depot, I think. I'm not too sure on that. I'll have to put it in the video here. But I do remember seeing Home Depot stuff around, Home Hardware stuff around, sorry. Otherwise, for this locomotive, the wrap is pretty interesting. It's got a lighter shade of yellow than the, standard ViaRail scheme that was around at the time. I believe this came out in the late 90s. I don't really remember. But yeah, it was definitely unwrapped and, repainted by the time I was rail fanning. I think it was rebuilt as well. Or maybe it got wrecked. I don't know. I can't remember. A few of these units actually got wrecked. As for the Home Hardware unit, I'm going to put it in C. If there was an H, I'd put it in H for Home Hardware. I'm just kidding. That would probably be like lower than Renaissance. If there was a Z on this rank list, or this tier list or whatever, I'd put Renaissance at a Z, because I really don't care for it. Maybe the Oof unit as well. Next up, we have the Telus Wrap. I believe this came out around 2005, 4. Telus is a Canadian phone service provider. I don't know if they have it in the States as well. It feels like a international name. It might be AT&T or T-Mobile in the States. I don't know. I think the paint scheme is pretty interesting. I believe this is the Home Hardware unit. I don't know. I think this unit went from Home Hardware to Telus or something like that. I don't know. It was green for a while. I think that was after they took the Telus logo off, and they were gonna repaint it to, the next paint scheme or whatever, or unwrap it. Sorry. I hope I don't call most of these paint schemes. A lot of these are just wraps. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting scheme. I think it looks okay on an F40PH. The lime green Via stuff. So I put it in maybe a B. Next up, we got another one of my favorite wraps. This is for the 2004 Tobey Maguire movie, Spider-Man 2. Like, I have the movie, I haven't watched it in forever. This, I believe, is the one with Doc Ock, and the one where he says pizza time, or something like that. I don't know. I think the wrap is pretty interesting. It's alright. I put it in A.
Pizza time.
I mean, it doesn't have as much going on as some of these other wraps. it's just pretty cool to see that on a VIA engine. And I'm pretty sure back in like 2004 it really turned some heads because Spider-Man was a huge movie back then. Next up we got the VIA Rail Canada 150 wrap. This was done for 2017 for Canada's 150th anniversary. I really like it. It's probably one of my favorite wraps, or definitely my like all-time favorite wrap for VIA. Well, one of them, I guess. I don't know. It's got the modern. I like to call this paint scheme the wrap. Sorry, the modern gray ghost. It's kind of like the original, but the VIA logo is like wrapped around the top of the cab and the basically towards the front of the engine. The whole thing is VIA incorporated on the gray, and then throughout the VIA logo you have a banner that says Canada 150, and then on the long hood of the locomotive you have a different or plethora of colors, whatever you want to call it, of you know, cities that VIA runs to. Like just gonna name some here. Of course, Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Vancouver, Churchill, all those places on a few of these engines. I really like it. It's probably one of the most interesting modern VIA wraps. I'd put it in S. Also because I'm kind of nostalgic for 2017. Good times. Good times. Kind of. Next up we have the 2018 version of this VIA wrap, the VIA 40th anniversary wrap. This was to commemorate 40 years of VIA between 1978 and 2018. I swear, I was about to say 1918. I'm sorry. It's pretty interesting. Definitely not my favorite wrap. Yeah, I'd put it in maybe C. Next up, we have the second run of the Coors Light Express train, I think. This one is a little more detailed than the first run, and the gray is a little bit darker on the front of the engine. It's got some interesting details on the side. I don't know what they were going for, like a futuristic kind of steampunk train kind of designs or something on the side with a big fan and stuff. I don't know, whatever. It's pretty interesting, and I'd probably put it in B. No, A. Let's go with A. Next up we have S. This is just S. I don't even need to explain it. It's just S. I'm just kidding. This is the Kool-Aid wrap. It was done in the early 2000s. I think between like 2000, 2002 maybe. I don't know. It's interesting. I love Kool-Aid. I'm completely biased towards anything with Kool-Aid. Because the Kool-Aid man is super cool. You know, oh yeah, that kind of thing.
Wow, you know, from the other side, that's kind of annoying.
It's just awesome, and I have a lot of good memories of drinking Kool-Aid when I was younger. I still do, because why not? But we had these things in Canada, or we have these things in Canada called Kool-Aid Jammers. They're kind of like what the US has when it comes to Capri Sun. We have, you know, they have little plastic kind of things of Capri Sun. But we had Kool-Aid. We have Kool-Aid, sorry. And yeah, basically me and my friends would jab the Kool-Aid thing and try not to stick the straw through the entire thing. And I'd do that so many times, it wasn't even funny. Like, I'd spill Kool-Aid all over my shirt and my pants just because I was trying to jab the straw in as fast as I could. Next up, we have the original Gray Ghost paint scheme. This was kind of an experimental paint scheme for VIA. It would kind of, you know, go on to be tweaked, I guess, into the next VIA paint scheme, which would be the ones on the F40PHs and the LRCs. Yeah, I think it was just this one locomotive, 6532, I believe, and then a couple commuter cars that were painted in this experimental paint scheme. It's pretty interesting. I like it, and also I'm a little biased because it's on a F unit, and those are based. So I'm gonna put this in A. Also, I'm kind of biased because it's on a F unit, and the FP9s and F7s are beige. Next up, we have a gray cup wrap. This is for CFL game around like the early 2000s, I believe. Early 2010s, sorry. It's pretty interesting. It would have been nice if they wrapped it all the way around the locomotive, because like on the very back of the engine, you could still see the Renaissance paint scheme. Otherwise, it's a really interesting design. I like the designs on the sides. I'd put this in A. Next up, we got my second favorite Via paint scheme. So this is already, you already know where this is going. This is the Via Rail Canada paint scheme. It was their kind of updated paint scheme for the Via Rail F40PH as delivered scheme. The blue stripe was extended. There's a lot more Canadian flags on it. I think at first on this run they were just basically straight and small. These ones were kind of wavy, like an actual flag, and a lot bigger. And there was also a little flag where Amtrak puts their not marker lights. I don't know what it's called. It's an Autumn Mars light. The big red light, sometimes in the middle of these F40s, cabs, I guess, the head end. Honestly, it would be really, really cool if Via Rail did some heritage units. Like, Amtrak has so many heritage units, it's not even funny. Via has 0. Next up, we have Via Rail's brand new paint scheme. This is going to be on their Siemens Charger engines, the new ones that are going into the Quebec-Windsor corridor to replace the P42s and LRC cars from like the 80s and 2000s. Honestly, I think the paint scheme is really cool. I like the design of it. Of course, you know, I'm not really a fan of the Siemens Charger engines. I don't like their designs, especially the Amtrak ones. Those are probably the ugliest out there. But the Vias actually looks alright. I wouldn't mind seeing them in person. But otherwise, I want to put this in S for the paint scheme, and that's about it. Next up, we have a locomotive that technically isn't really a Via engine anymore. This is number 6300, which has a insane history. It was, you know, built as a CN unit, transferred to Via, repainted, of course. In 1986, when the Hinton, Alberta crash happened, it was in the middle of a train for some reason, and its cab or nose got destroyed. So they took a Kansas City Southern F7 and rebuilt the nose from that F7. I think the whole cab was just taken off the KCS unit and put on the Via engine. So this cab isn't actually original CN. That was completely reduced to atoms. This is a KCS cab, or as they're now referred to as CPKC, Kansas City Canadian Pacific, whatever that stupid name is. But anyways, yeah, so now it's painted in a Via Rail blue with a white nose instead of the standard yellow. It's got a couple of maple leaves on it. It's really interesting. I put it in A. I would put it in S, but I'm gonna keep it in A right now, because it's technically not an official Via Rail paint scheme. Not even technically. It's not an official Via paint scheme. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's still listed as Via 6300 as far as I can tell, but it got donated, so it's technically off the roster. So it's technically not a Via unit anymore. And last but definitely not least, we have the Via Rail Turbo Train paint scheme. This was a scheme. It's a variant of the original scheme. It's kind of like a mixture of the paint schemes that were on the locomotive and the passenger cars. You got the stripe of the passenger cars and the colors of the locomotive, just inverted actually, because you know it would be all blue with yellow text and the stripe. But this is an interesting take on it. It's again, as I said, inverted. You know, it's got all yellow. It's a big banana. with a blue VIA logo on it and a blue stripe towards the back of the train, or the other end of the train, whatever you want to call it. The turbo trains are really cool, and it's kind of sad to know that they've all been scrapped. I don't know if any were, put up for, or considered to be preserved, but it would have been really cool to see a turbo train preserved. So definitely F in the chat for the turbo train. I'm gonna put this where it belongs, in S. That's it for this Via Rail tier list. I'm gonna give you a link in the description to rank them yourself. If you like the Via Rail Renaissance scheme the most, you could put this in S. If you like the Via Rail Blue scheme the least, you could put it in D. I'm gonna block you though.
Intros. Don't get blocked.
But yeah, so that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'm sure there's a few other variations of the Via paint schemes that I've missed, or other interesting semi-official paint schemes, I guess. I'm more thinking of the Flex Liner. I think they're called Flex Liners. It was Israeli Railways, I think. I don't know what it was. Their paint scheme or something like that. Or maybe it was an Amtrak thing. I don't know. Via Rail tested them. Interesting kind of look to them. But yeah, it's technically not an official paint scheme, so whatever. Yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, so for now, I will see you all in another video. Oh yeah, make sure to check out Engines of Amtrak. That's gonna come out every holiday. So April. I can't spoil it. April 20th, 420. May something, Juneteenth, just because. And July 1st, Canada Day, or maybe July 4th. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Peace out.